Embarking on a spiritual journey is a deeply transformative process, but it doesn't come without its challenges. You constantly go up, you constantly go down, you're thrown around, and you go through all of these wild experiences emotionally, physically, mentally, because that's part of the experience. If you go up, you have to go down sometimes, and there's a reason for that. Even if it doesn't feel like you're really making any progress right now, it doesn't mean that you aren't in the grand scheme of things. Because this is something that I've learned very clearly along my own journey, is that growth is not a linear curve. When I was 30 years old, I returned back to Australia after about 5 years traveling the world, and I went back into a subpar situation where it started to trigger a lot of stuff. I was back living with my mum, I had no money, I had no car, I had no job, and I didn't really know what to do because such a big part of my life was traveling, and suddenly that came to an end, at least temporarily, and I felt like I was back to square one. So revisiting this situation as an adult after going through all of these experiences and being independent for a long time and, just having a great lifestyle, I'm not going to lie, it was a difficult time of my life, but mostly because it felt like I was regressing, and this was my biggest fear. See, there's nothing wrong with actually going back into that situation and spending time with my mum after I didn't see her for a long time. There wasn't anything wrong with the situation, but it really started triggering things in me because I felt like I was going back into a situation when perhaps I felt like I was a kid, I felt like I was trapped, I didn't have independence, I didn't enjoy my life. So naturally, these things started coming back up. And I felt like my sense of self-worth was completely stripped away. I felt like my sense of independence was stripped away because I didn't really have any options. So this really ignited this trigger or this fear in me that I wasn't in control of my life anymore. Luckily, I had a slightly better perspective than I once had. Rather than seeing this situation as the be-all end-all, I realized that this was actually a great opportunity for growth. Just because we can avoid a trigger or experiencing a wound or going back into certain places that don't make us feel good, it doesn't mean that there's not still something there beneath the surface. And this is what we need to perceive the spiritual growth journey as. It's going around in circles or around in this spiral and constantly revisiting different wounds and different experiences and different triggers. It takes time to actually come back around and revisit these situations from a higher perspective until we no longer need to go back into them because we've learned everything that there is to learn. Don't worry about circling back around and still being in this situation or having some sort of reoccurring pattern in your life because it doesn't mean that you are regressing. It just means that you are revisiting old wounds or situations or occurrences because there is still something to learn from them. You can't go back into the same person that you were because you've learned more, you've gained more life experience, you've gained more wisdom. So the whole idea of going backwards or regressing along your journey really is a fallacy. So the best way to see it is that you are mapping out a maze here rather than checking boxes. And in order to map out that maze of consciousness, of spirituality, of yourself, you need to hit a few dead ends. And hitting those dead ends doesn't mean there's anything wrong. Rather, you're just crossing off some of the possibilities so that you can find deeper alignment with who you are and what you resonate with. So instead of having this fear of going backwards and thinking that you always need to have a handle over everything that is happening in your life, don't be afraid of going back into these spaces or these childhood wounds or these situations that you have been spending your life trying to avoid. Because if you are still trying to avoid them, then it means that there is still something there. You haven't fully resolved that wound yet or the cause of that suffering or that pain. And if you keep digging, if you keep revisiting it, like maybe it's not your choice, you will keep revisiting it if there is still something there, but you'll start to get to a deeper level and a deeper level and a deeper level until you actually get to the bottom of it, heal that wound, and you don't need to revisit these situations anymore. You might start doubting yourself and feeling disheartened because you think, wow, it's been many years, trying to move the needle and trying to do what's best for my own growth, but I'm not really getting anywhere. So it can be discouraging as well. You might feel naturally discouraged in this process when you are going through these periods. And what happens is you will often start comparing yourself to other people. So you might start wondering why it's so easy for him or for her. Why do these people seem to have it worked out, or it doesn't seem as complicated for them? They don't seem to go back into these dark places. They don't seem to regress at all. We really don't get much of a lens into other people's lives. So be careful of comparing yourself to other people, because it doesn't really get you anywhere in the end. And it's okay to go into these low vibrational states for a while and say, I'm failing. I'm a big failure. What is going on? Why can't I just be happy? Why can't I be successful? Why can't I overcome this trauma or these problems? But have faith that you are. And I think part of it is due to our expectations that we believe, or we're led to believe at least, that, solutions are so simple, especially when it comes to personal growth and personal development. After all, just take a course, just buy a program, and then all your problems will be solved. But even though these things might help, they might give you more tools, they might give you more insights, they're not really going to do a whole lot in the grand scheme of your evolution. Because spiritual growth takes a long time. Be careful of believing that you will transcend every problem that you have in this lifetime, that within a couple years you will be a completely different person, you will be connected to God, you will never suffer anymore or experience pain. And really, we just need to be persistent. We need to just keep stepping forward when we can. We need to allow ourselves to go through these dark times or these dark situations. And we need to have a little bit of self-compassion as well. Because if you have these super high expectations that you need to become enlightened in this lifetime, or you need to go through a Kundalini awakening, or you need to have some crazy experience to prove that you're actually doing something right, then let it go, because you are doing something right. And unless you actually have some compassion for yourself and you let go of some of these expectations, and you don't try and force anything in your life, because that doesn't really work, it's not a solution, then you will continue stepping in the right direction bit by bit. And that's really what it's all about. So it really is a continuous cycle, and you will go through these periods of learning and growth and shadow work, and you will have to do the hard yards sometimes. Not saying that it will always be hard yards, or that your life will always just be dark or negative, or you will always have to go back into these places, but you will have to go there inevitably many more times throughout your life experience, because that's just the way we are programmed. But it doesn't mean that you are regressing, it doesn't mean that you are going backwards. And as long as you embrace this cycle, then life becomes much easier for you, and you won't have this pain or this crap to hold on to. And that could be a lesson for you as well. As you come back into these cycles, maybe they're trying to teach you to let go of some of this stuff, to let go of these expectations. With that said, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have learned something from this content. Please like, subscribe, comment, and support my channel so I can help reach more people like you. Otherwise, have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourself.